I'm Sean Steinmarc. This is Amanda Blain.
Hi.
Hopefully we can help give you guys some insights into influencer marketing. Anybody here have an idea of what influencer marketing means, or what does it mean to you, I should say? Anybody want to offer up what they feel influencer marketing or influencer engagement? What is an influencer?
Nothing. Nada.
There we go. What's an influencer? You're a blogger. So, you're not a blogger. You think like a blogger is an influencer, right? Because they have an audience that's reading what they have to say. Anybody else? Examples?
That guy. Oh.
You got? Yes?
Leveraging someone of authority to sell your product and or service.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I feel like I would have planted that one.
I like that.
All right, you can all go home. So the perspective that we're giving here is we're focusing on folks online, on the internet, who have influence over an audience through which you could sell your products, you can promote your services. Basically, folks who have influence over your target audience is where we're really focusing on.
We're also going to be talking about the difference between large generic audiences and something like cooking, and narrowing it back down to something much more specific like cupcake baking. So there's influence with both of those people and the difference between the two of them.
So what we're trying to focus on to help you guys figure out how to find the right influencers. There are a lot of people out there in the marketing world who are claiming to be influencers. A lot of people are telling you that they can help you find influencers. What we're going to try to show you is how to find them on your own and really understand who truly has influence versus who might just be out there seeming to have influence.
Hold on, Sean. We need to tell everyone who we are.
Oh my goodness, yes. Sorry about that. So why don't you go first?
So why you should be listening to us. So I own a female friendship making website. I did all the coding and development on it, front end, back end. And I was interviewed a lot for female marketing, but I'm actually a pretty big tech video game geeky girl. So I actually switched into doing influence under my own name. I have a couple million followers on social media now. And I'm coming from this from the influencer side. So I've dealt with a lot of PR companies and things of that nature. So I'm coming at from the different angle than a lot of people would be talking about this.
And just to note, Amanda's girlfriend social girl friendship making site is the largest one in the world. So that's kind of awesome. I'm Sean Steinmarc. I come to it many fewer followers than Amanda has. I will never reach that count. I'm like a couple thousand, which means nothing next to her. But what you'll see is sometimes people with small numbers of followers also do have influence where you might want it. And I've also worked with influencers in the past to try to promote various things. So hopefully I'll give you a little insight on that too. So now we'll skip ahead here. So what we're showing you is to start with for bloggers. So let's say you have a company like a pet insurance company, and you're trying to find people that have pets. You wouldn't necessarily search for folks that are influential in pet insurance. What you'll look for is think about your target audience, and you say, all right, I'm trying to hit pet owners. Well, who's going to go, where do you find pet owners? Well, they're reading cat blogs, cat lovers blogs. And honestly, you just go to Google, you put in the search term, and you start looking through, and you can find some bloggers, for example, as influencers. It's a really good kind of way to start to try to find those influencers. You can move on to social networks as well.
Okay. So I kind of take the feedback as coming from an influencer that a lot of the tools that are out there on the market right now are quite expensive. They're asking you a lot of money. A lot of them have gotten a bunch of funding, and they're trying to make that money back. And they're not that effective in actually finding influencers, in my opinion. Some of them are. I mean, we can't break it all out. But in my opinion, doing what Sean just said, going to Google, spending some time breaking out of your niche and getting into a specific vertical and pulling people from Google that way and looking at their audience or their social media accounts yourself. You can spend some time on Twitter, do a simple search up at the top, and you're going to find people who are influential in what you're looking for without spending all that money. A lot of the tools that are out there will pull in stats, and as we're going to go through on this slide, a lot of those stats and those numbers, people with 1 million followers, have falsely inflated those numbers. And because I was a person that had this, I spent a lot of time investigating what makes somebody influential on the internet? What makes somebody have engagement? And you can't even just stop at the metrics, like how many times somebody's got likes. Those can be bought. How many times can something be retweeted? A lot of times those are fake accounts redoing it. But we'll go through in the next couple of slides just some examples of how you can do that pretty effectively. Take a couple of minutes out of your day and break it down to, oh, here we are right here, as you can see. This gentleman on the internet has a couple million followers on Twitter. He has 5,000 some odd retweets and stuff. But as you can see, those gray boxes there, if you click on any tweet in the timestamp, you can have this stat come up. You can see this page. Then you can actually click on the retweets and look at the actual people who are retweeting. So this guy with 1 million followers has 5,000 retweets, and a good portion of those 5,000 retweets have a gray box as the profile of the person doing the retweeting. So if you take a few moments to simply go through and look at this, you can kind of get an idea of who has fake accounts, who is buying things. And another key variable here is almost every one of his tweets has 5,000 retweets on it, almost the same number, give or take, up or down. So if you spend a few moments on this, you can see that this is a person that would appear in one of those high-profile paying platforms that you're going to pull in as an influencer, but they're not actually likely that influential.
So the important thing here is you have these ways to start looking for followers. You can go on the blogs, you can go online and find who has a lot of followers, but see these as indicators, and then go a little bit further. Make sure they're not getting fake followers. Here's an example, Amanda, for a tweet that she has. So she has millions of followers across the internet, and she has 200 retweets and 400 likes on this random tweet that she made. But you can click into her and you can see the folks are actual real people. You have real profiles with real photos. You have descriptions in their profile. So she's getting true engagement versus paying for thousands of people or thousands of bots to retweet and like her posts.
So this slide is just showing the fact of the difference between having, somebody you're targeting with millions of followers, which is what most people think of when they think of influence, and you're, that sea of massive people they're doing lots of paid ads and your voice is going to get lost, as opposed to smaller people. And this is something I really want to stress and think about. People who have a smaller niche market that is targeting what you are looking for might have a better result for your campaign and what you're trying to get out in your marketing message, because those 4 or 5 individual people, obviously not that level, but a smaller market is going to get your answer out there clearer than getting lost in just the noise. I've met a lot of influencers that have millions of followers, and it's all over the map. A lot of them aren't getting targeted with the campaign that they're looking for either, because, next slide with the thing. Nope. This one.
Which one?
That's fine.
This one?
Yes. A lot of times, these PR companies will target me with a message like, this is what we want you to say at this time on this day, and we want it to be just like this with this wording and this 17-character long hashtag, because we're the PR company and we know exactly what we're doing. And as an influencer, it's my job to create content that people are going to be engaged with. That's what I do. So to tell me exactly how you want the marketing message to get out there is, I'll do it, we can talk about it, we can work and we can negotiate it, but it isn't necessarily going to get you the best results that you're looking for. My audience is my audience that I've curated. They expect a certain voice from me, and I really want to stress that you want to get that to come through. That's why you're going to this person and talking to their audience. So it's okay to give me an idea of like the marketing message you want to get across. Maybe we can work together on that 17-character long hashtag and come up with the exact campaign and voice that you're trying to get out there, as opposed to just telling me how to do it. Here's an example. So this went viral a little bit. I don't know if anyone's seen this before. This gentleman is somebody who used to date one of the Kardashians. He has a couple million followers on social media. This is taken from his Instagram. It's a direct quote, as you can see. Here you go at 4 p.m., right the below caption, here, like our protein shake. So he literally cut and pasted the PR message into his campaign to go out.
Notice it's still got 4,000 likes.
It's still got 4,000 likes. But the point is a lot of these bigger influencers, going back to what I was saying earlier, aren't necessarily the genuine voice that you're trying to get out there. Somebody who has a smaller following that's really worked hard at bodybuilding might have a better response. These people, he's a Kardashian guy, right? There's a genuine like coming along here, and then we're liking because. So this one was an example of, not caring.
And he's not even he doesn't have the right audience. So people that follow him aren't necessarily even going to care about a protein shake. So somebody who had maybe even 1,000 followers or 50 truly engaged followers who are actually going to listen to the message and potentially buy the product, that's really who you want to focus on. You want people who will be excited to share your message and understand your message. So that's really why you have to not just go by follower count, not just go by what somebody's, well, actually, yes, go by what somebody's writing about. Yes. See what their actual messages are, see who their audience is, and focus in on that. So get incitement. Though sometimes being grumpy also works, so they don't always have to be happy. You can get a little cat in there, sell some Friskies, good stuff. The other really important thing is that you have to make sure you're following FTC guidelines. The FTC has been coming down on a lot of companies recently for having paid promotions through influencers. These two examples show basically, it was, now I forgot, Lord & Taylor and Microsoft through Xbox. So Lord & Taylor was paying influencers to post fashion wear without saying that they were actually being paid by Lord & Taylor. And Microsoft, for the launching of a new video game, was paying YouTubers to put up videos promoting, and they actually specifically said they had to promote it in a positive light. So they were paying these influencers, and these folks were not disclosing anything. According to the FTC, any paid promotion needs to be disclosed, even if you're just offering them free product. So make sure that you're following the guidelines. There are a lot of resources online that you can find that. If you're a member of the PMA, the Performance Marketing Association, they have a really great white paper on it, or become a member of the PMA and get the white paper. But there's also tons of free information online too. Just make sure you stay within guidelines.
I also want to really stress that a lot of companies don't have a lot of information on this. They don't tell me anything. I'm often the one educating them. The company will be at fault, not the influencer in most cases. So it's really important that you are monitoring what your influencers are doing once you've gotten to this step and made sure that they are disclosing, that they're putting the appropriate terms that somebody knows that is a sponsored or paid for opportunity.
And so this is our representation of an influencer influencing other people in various ways. Really what we're trying to get across is make sure that you find the right people that can send the right message to their audience. Don't just go by a generic, there are tools out there you can check out. Similar to how we were saying, check the follower accounts, make sure that you have the right people that you're considering to be an influencer in your area. Anything to add?
I really want to stress that thinking outside the box, going for these people who have less follower count than those high-end profile people that you might be targeting in your influencer campaigns right now can really add a lot of value. They probably are very passionate about what they're doing. They're not going to be as jaded as Mr. Cut and Paste guy necessarily, and you're probably going to get a decent result. As long as you're following the rules and guidelines like the FTC stuff, because they're not going to be familiar with those types of things. I also want to come up with different outside of the box opposed to just here's some money and here's some free product, because there's a lot of that. Or here's just some free product, which a lot of these people are looking for monetization of what they're doing online. So look at what you're doing in other platforms, other verticals, paid advertising, other things like that. And this audience, if you're working and developing a relationship, an ongoing relationship, maybe coming up with new and creative ways of doing it, depending on what your niche and vertical is, having them come into your organization, doing a back-end tour, watching the chefs in the kitchen in your restaurant, and going through that entire experience. Let that content creator take pictures. Let them do what they're trying to do to get outside of the box thinking, as opposed to come to my restaurant, have a free dinner. There's a completely different, I hope we can kind of grasp that concept here, of ways to be doing this that most companies are not really engaging yet. They're coming up with the PR side. This is the way we've done it. This is the way press does it. Here's our press release. Rewrite our press release. And that's not in my opinion, the best way to be gauging an influencer. They do this for a living. They come up with that creative, perfect Instagram photo shot. Let them do what they're trying to do and figure out a way to develop a relationship with them outside of the box. I think that's what we were shooting for with that screen.
There you go.
Outside the box.
We wanted to leave time, like plenty of time, for questions from you guys to make sure that we can help any way you might need. Anybody have any questions? Does anybody have campaigns or yes?
I have a question about the FTC guidelines. So what are the specifics as far as how it has to be disclosed? Does it need to be on that campaign? Does it need to be on the influencer site?
So it needs to be in the influencer, every single promotion that the influencer does. So Instagram, tweet, Facebook, any message that they share needs to include disclosures. So it can't be, I can't send a tweet saying, hey, my next tweet is going to be paid promotion, and then tweet again and not reference it in the actual promotion. So you have to include disclosures there.
The basic idea so far is it needs to be clear that that independent piece of content is being sponsored. If I don't know you, I don't know what you're about, I don't know where you're from, and I just saw that tweet or post or article, I need to know that it's been paid for. So there's different ways that people are doing this. You know, putting a hashtag ad in some circumstances is okay, sometimes it's not. It depends also on your location. There's differences if you're international or not as well with all of these types of things. So the market is really being established in terms of how this needs to be done. But the FTC's basic idea overall is make sure if this is paid content that you are disclosing that it is paid content.
In a way that the audience will understand too. So for a while, people were using hashtag SPON to imply sponsored, and that was not acceptable because people don't know what hashtag spawn means.
Right.
Hashtag ad is a little bit more forward. And yeah, as we mentioned, like definitely go online. There's some really rigorous white papers and stuff.
Come up with a company policy and make sure that your influencer is just following what your legal team or what your department has decided is acceptable disclosure.
Yeah. An example of that you might be familiar with, if you go through Amazon reviews, a lot of the times now you'll see Amazon reviews, the top reviewers will mention that they've received the compensated or the product was received for free. That's something that a large portion of the public has actually experienced. So that's kind of an example of this.
And do you think that disclosure diminishes the influencer's
So
ability to influence?
I have my opinion.
Go ahead.
Oh, so I think that disclosing it. So if I were to see on a post by Amanda where she said that she absolutely loved a particular game, and she didn't say that it was provided to her for free or she was getting paid for that, I would think she really liked it. I'm also cynical, so if I see that she's been paid to say that, then I might be a little bit less inclined to believe that it's truly her feeling. However, that's kind of the point. Like, if she's being paid for it, people should know about it, and you know, it's the law, so we kind of have to do it. I don't think it makes it irrelevant. I still think it's phenomenally useful for her to share that. Because the other side of it is, if I believe Amanda, you know, if I'm a follower of hers and I'm following her content over and over and I really appreciate who she is and respect what she shares, I know that she's not going to do it just to get free product or just for the money. She's doing it because she actually believes in it in addition to being paid for it.
So just my take on the same idea is I do press at a lot of events as well because I have the reach as a lot of newspapers, so I'll get press access. And I'm wined and dined in press like no tomorrow. They take you to events, they give you free whatever you want, they're doing all that kind of stuff, and they're compensating you in a different kind of way, but they kind of just hope you write about it. As an influencer, you are specifically told we want you to write about it in this specific way, and that difference has actually been very interesting depending on as I approach an event as an influencer or if I'm approaching it as press. As an influencer, yeah, it's one of these things where I'm like, oh, I got to put some kind of ad content on here. Is my audience going to be affected by that? And of course it is. Of course there's some guy that's going to be like, oh, you've sold out. But at the same time, most influencers or most people understand that we're doing this for a living to some extent or another, and any of my genuine audience is not going to be affected by it. I make it very clear that, if I don't like content with the campaign that I'm working with, that I give you the option to back out of it or to read my review before I write it or do any type of that. I'll always have some kind of disclosure that says I can back out or you can back out if we don't want this actually going out once it's started. And that's, I think, a safety bet for those ones where I'm like, I actually hate this product and I can't keep going. But for the most part, if I'm getting involved, I already know what the company is and I'm familiar with them and I like it. That's where I leave my paid campaigns at now. I guess that's just my take on it.
There's a question in the back. You had your hand raised.
Yeah, for a long time.
I was just saying, I'm a content creator, so just two quick comments. If somebody pays me to do a post and they don't specifically say to do Twitter and Facebook,
Yeah.
best practice still is to let that person know if you choose to tweet or Facebook about it afterwards that sponsored or ad hashtag should go with that anyway.
Yes.
Even if it's not a requirement of the post.
Right.
Yes.
And the second thing that I was going to say, just what you finished saying, which is it's actually more trustworthy if the person does say, I didn't like this little part of it, or maybe this isn't the best fit for me, but here are the good things about the product. It
Right.
actually lends it veracity as opposed to just everything's happy rainbows all the time.
Right.
So what she was saying, two great pieces of content. The first is she's an influencer, content creator. So with the content that's created, if the influencer chooses to tweet about it or Facebook about it, they should still be marking on those tweets or those shares that this particular piece of content was promoted or a paid promotion. The second thing was. The second thing was that even if the influencer doesn't love the product, a lot of the times that they'll say, this wasn't exactly the right thing for me, but here are the pros, here are the cons, and it feels very genuine when that happens. Yes?
What is the guideline for what you should pay per thousand people reached or whatever, for a post, for a review, for a package of posts? Is there any guideline?
So this is the Wild West of the question was how much should I be paying per 1,000 followers, views, whatever. This is the Wild West. Every influencer is going to have a different number on this. There are people who, this is like asking somebody their salary, basically. It's not shared. There are people who have shared articles on this on the internet, but most people don't get into it. Each influencer is going to demand a lot. And that's a big reason why I am saying targeting some of these people who have millions of Instagram followers is not necessarily going to get you your best bang for your buck. Look at these guys who are not getting contacted every day of the week, but come up on the front page of Google for cat bloggers. They might have a much lower number for you than what you're going to be expecting from some of that guy that's the number one in million followers on Instagram for cats. Because they're getting it all the time and they're just going to keep raising their price because that's what they can do. So if you think some creative outside of the box ways, I'm not going to give you a number specifically on this because it's regional specific, it's niche specific, it's all over the place.
Yeah. And remember again, the number of followers, the 1,000 followers, that's less important in our opinion than the actual true engagement.
And that's why I want to focus again on what, are they getting comments on their blog? Are people interacting with them? Or do they have like a close-knit community and then all those people go out and buy your product or all those people are going to go to your restaurant? This is a much better example than 1 million people in all of the United States getting access to a food picture you took. So just like in any other type of marketing that you would be doing here, sometimes localized, niche specific is going to be a better payout for you.
Yeah. Yes.
It depends on the niche. The question was, if you were just starting out a blog and you wanted to get some influencers on board, where would you go about doing that? And again, it goes back to what's your niche, just so we can keep going with that.
Educating military veterans on entrepreneurship.
Okay, so that's pretty specific.
Very specific.
So LinkedIn, to me personally, I've zoned out a lot. It had a lot less impact social media-wise when they started making that wall where you have to log in and to do. You can all nod. You know, you know what I'm talking about. It went downhill in my opinion at that. I still think Twitter is great for networking purposes. People are live talking about things a lot on Twitter. It's a good idea to get an idea of what people are actively talking about now. Snapchat is what the kids are using. If you have kids, they're using it. You're talking to them more than you are, seeing them in real life through Snapchat. I don't know how much that's going to be for a military niche. I mean, not so much. Instagram is, again, a very self-centered platform. You're doing a lot of, look at me, here's my pictures, here's fashion, beauty, food, but you can't put any kind of traffic link on that. There's no click back through that, so maybe not necessarily there. Facebook still is the biggest platform in the world. They are limiting business on Facebook. You have to pay in order to, you can see some nodding there too. You have to pay in order to get your page that you spent all this time developing into the news feed now. But there's still, the biggest audience is still on Facebook.
So I would say actually also think about, think about folks that are writing about topics, and maybe other bloggers that are writing about topics that would be interesting to vets, maybe like gun blogs or anything that might be related to folks that are coming back. Just think about who your audience is and what they're into. So that might be your best way to search for all that. Just find other bloggers, and then you can kind of cross promote too. There's a network for that.
I would brainstorm keywords, start at what you would do on any type of advertising. Keywords that are around this, thinking outside the box, what can I do to narrow it down, like he's saying, guns, other parts of the same vertical, and research into each of those.
Other questions? Yes?
What about the value of celebrity influencers?
Yeah, I'm sure you have an opinion on this, so I'm going to let Amanda field this one.
So again, because I got millions of followers and I'm just an average regular person, I have met lots of celebrities out of it, and a lot of them don't even know what they're doing. They're not what they're doing when I say their PR company is doing it. They're not even the one that's handling it. They don't know anything about your product. That's again why I'm stressing to go down to a smaller vertical to get a better result. If you're targeting correctly, you might. That being said, if you are looking for a purely branding purpose, you are just trying to, buy center ice at a hockey rink, I'm Canadian, and get your branding out there because you're Coca-Cola, celebrity marketing and influencer marketing will still do that. You will get your brand in front of a lot of people. If you are looking for conversion or traffic or driving something else, then a smaller niche vertical might have a better result.
So I would consider it like a billboard. So you're putting a billboard on the side of the highway for a lot of eyeballs to see and get some recognition. I even remember, with Amanda's followers, I remember at one point, and probably still, she was the only person in the top 25 followed on Google Plus that wasn't a PR agency. And it was all celebrities, but you can tell by the messaging that it wasn't some person sitting there and messaging. It was a company. So the engagement is not there. You're not going to get that sort of excitement about figuring out the right way to engage an audience. You're going to get them copying and pasting. You're going to get a billboard. Yeah.
It really depends on your goals. It's very hard to talk about this topic in such a general thing because we're talking all verticals, all niches, all audiences. So.
Do you want to share your niche or?
It's just a general question?
Okay.
Just a general question.
That's cool.
Okay.
Yes.
Most companies that reach out to you as an influencer, do they have a contract with you about what you're going to post to be sure that if they're giving you, so we're a med spa, so a lot of times we're trading service
Right.
with our influencers.
Yes.
But sometimes their posts, they're supposed to do a video and then as they've agreed to that, and then
Okay.
they don't.
Yes.
Offered thousands of dollars in
Wow.
service, and then we don't get the return. But like you said, if we tell them exactly what to post,
Right.
then
Okay.
they'll seem genuine. And
Okay, so the question, which is a very good one, is if you've agreed to something with the influencers, you have a contract with them, or you just hope that they post what they want because we're trying to get that genuine voice. Depending on the company, I've done it both ways. Personally now, if a company approaches me and they don't have a contract, I'm coming up with one, or I'm at least having in writing, the level of what we're agreeing to, because I think that's important to protect both ways. I want to make sure expectations are met. I want to make sure that we're developing a relationship. To me, that's very important. I don't want to, have a one-time deal. Here's my post and I cut and paste it. I don't want that. That's not going to work for my audience. It's not going to work for me. So you want to be targeting people that are of the same words I'm talking about now. We want to develop a relationship. We're trying to do that with you. And I would, even though I'm, like you're saying, like I said, you want to have your unique voice coming through as an influencer, you still need to have, you are going to have, one tweet, one Facebook post, and one YouTube video done within 14 days of service. And, that should be discussed and arranged, whatever it is you're going to be, and the timeline on it should be in there. That's the norm. Most things I'm getting now. If you're not doing that, I would recommend doing that.
Influencers, that's normal to them. Like,
To me, yes. I don't know about.
It's going to be across the board because some people
Some of these
better.
younger people might not have that, but I would be like suggesting, this is to protect us both. We're trying to develop a relationship. We're trying to make sure that your expectations are met, my expectations are met. How many words we're going to use in the blog post. All of those things could be discussed, and they should be discussed. I think that's time.
And we're at time. Thank you all for coming. Feel free to approach us, and we can answer some more
We can answer
questions
some more
as we walk
questions.
out and whatnot. Thank you.